Today we're going to be talking about a few things that you need to get into film photography. Oh, that has film in it. Film photography can be a fun and addicting hobby, but it can also be a powerful tool in your professional workflow. Or if you're wanting to get into photography, it's an affordable way to do so without having to buy an expensive digital SLR. Welcome to the Visual Center. I'm Josh, and it's here that we talk all about photography and visual art. I first started shooting film when I took a darkroom class my freshman year of college about 12 years ago, and I fell in love with it. I have since gone on to work in a few film labs and had the opportunity to run my own film lab for a few years. Now, at this point, you may be asking yourself, why would I even want to shoot film? First of all, there's so many different films to choose from, and each one of them will give you a unique look. On top of that, there's multiple different ways you can manipulate film to give you an even more unique look. I'll be making several future videos on different film manipulation techniques. Another thing is that you can print your film in the darkroom or with different alternative processes. Film is unique by today's standards because instead of recording an image on a digital sensor, it is recorded on a piece of cellulose that is coated with silver salts and different dyes depending on if it's color or black and white film. When you start getting into medium and large format film, you'll be able to get a depth of field and a look that you won't be able to duplicate any other way. With film photography, you can even go to making an exposure all the way to making a final print without even touching a computer. The list of why you would want to use film could go on forever, but let's get into a few things that you need to get started. The first thing you need is obviously a camera. Now there are three different types that I would recommend when starting out. The first kind of camera is a manual focus SLR, like this one or this over here. These will be the most common camera you'll be able to find, whether it's at a local thrift store, Craigslist, or maybe even your mom or dad have one lying around the house. One thing to note with cameras like this is that all the functions are completely manual, including the focus. So if you know you'll have a hard time manual focusing, this may not be the best option for you. The next option would be a point and shoot camera like these ones over here. If you can find a point and shoot camera with a fixed focal length lens, such as this one with a 35mm, you'll usually be able to get sharp images and good colors. What I like best about point and shoot cameras is they're fully automatic, so all you have to worry about is your lighting and your composition. These cameras are best suited for travel photography, street photography, or if you just need something light to put in your pocket. The third type of camera I recommend is an autofocus SLR, like these over here. These cameras will most likely be newer, which means they have a more modern metering system, and they'll be able to automatically focus. The best part about these cameras is if you already have a Canon or Nikon digital camera, they share the same lens mount, so you can use the same lenses and get a similar look as you would with your DSLR. The second thing you'll need is film. Now this is where a lot of people get confused because as you can see, there's lots of different options. But basically all you need to know is there's three types of film: slide film, black and white film, and color negative film. With slide film, your film will come back as a positive image, which is really awesome, but it's the hardest film to shoot with because your exposures needs to be exact to yield good results, which is why I don't recommend it for beginners. There are some fun things you can do with it like cross-processing, which I'll make a video on in the future. The next film type is black and white film. Black and white is a good place to start because as the name implies, there's no colors, which means you can focus on your exposure and your composition. The third film type is color negative film. Color negative film is also a good place to start because the film is so forgiving. You can overexpose it or underexpose it a bit and still get good results. Color negative is my favorite film to shoot with because there's so many different options and I really enjoy the colors that I can achieve with it. One thing to consider when choosing a film is its ISO number, which is how sensitive it is to light. The higher the number, the more sensitive it is, just like changing your ISO in your digital camera. As a rule of thumb, anything above ISO 400 or 800 is going to give you a more grainy image. The third thing you'll need is a light meter. Now all three of these cameras I've recommended should have an internal light meter built into them, and it's up to you to learn that meter to see how it reacts to different types of light and how you can get the best exposure. Built-in light meters can have issues giving you consistent exposures, which is why I recommend getting a handheld light meter like this one. A handheld meter will give you exact exposures every time, which will especially come in handy as you move into large format and medium format photography. The fourth thing I recommend is to find interesting subject matter and good light. I've seen it time and time again where someone starts using a film camera and all of a sudden they're taking pictures of chairs and tree branches. Just stick with the subject you know you're good at and use it just like you would your digital camera. From landscapes to portraits, fashion, or product photography, just stick with the subjects you know. The fifth and final thing you need is somewhere to get your film developed, whether you want to try it yourself at home or send it off to a lab. If you're first starting out, I recommend taking it to a local lab where you can create a relationship between you and the person that's working with your film. If you don't have a lab close to you or your local lab just has a bad reputation, you can go online and find one that works for you. The most important thing is to build a relationship with the person working on your film so you can get the results that you want. If you've shot film before, let us know down in the comments what lab you recommend. This is the first video in a series of film-related content, so stay tuned for more. And if you learned something from this video, give it a like, subscribe to our channel, and click that bell for notifications, and we'll see you in the next video. Oops. Cut.